I'm DJ Psyched, and you're watching the Get Psyched YouTube channel. Let's get psyched about YouTube. Welcome back to the Get Psyched YouTube channel. Today we're doing another update on the habits challenge thing that I'm doing right now. And for those of you who haven't watched any of the other videos, I have done daily journaling as my first one. I did digital minimalism as my second one, no spending as week 3, and this last week's was meditating. For the most part, this challenge, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to do a challenge, make an update as to how it went, and decide if I'm going to carry on with the challenge for the rest of the challenge, which isn't really a challenge per se. I'm challenging myself by trying to implement these things daily for a week before I decide if they stick or not. But the whole goal of this is to make these habits stick and make them a part of my life. I've noticed something actually that was kind of interesting about all these, something that I didn't initially notice, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, I'm trying to initiate good habits, and I guess I'm trying to be more mindful about my life, and all of these practices so far have been centered around mindfulness. Now, that's something I didn't initially go into it thinking. I didn't think that trying to build good habits was my way of trying to be more mindful, and that implementing these mindful habits would just make me more mindful in general. And so that's what I want to talk about real quick, because I don't want to go into too much detail about every single one because I have updated on these a lot, but I do want to say that this whole mindfulness, well-roundedness has been rooted in each practice, and it's actually made my life really, feel better right now. There are days that, yes, I'm not perfect. I still am struggling to get all my work done on time, as far as homework and schoolwork, and I'm for sure not 100% the most productive person in the world, and I have no difficulties, but I do find it a lot easier to pull myself out of bed and start getting to work and doing more things. I feel like I'm more consistent in all of my art. I feel like my work is pretty consistent. I think that it has been helping, and in more so than just being productive, I think that it's made me a calmer person who's able to handle situations a little bit more reasonably. There has been twice now since I started doing this challenge that I've kind of had really off days. It happens. Sometimes you just have a really off day and you feel really weird. I used to have a really bad habit though, that when I had an off day, it turned into several off days. And by off day, I just mean I just wasn't feeling like myself. I was just really sad. I didn't have motivation to do much. And those happen sometimes. But usually they would kind of root in me and I wouldn't really be able to pick myself up so easily. But forcing myself to still journal and meditate through it helped me to work through my feelings and to find out why those off days happened, because I found out that for me, these off days, they weren't completely random. There were some things that were happening inside of me that I was able to figure out through the practice of journaling and meditating and just not letting distractions get in my way and focusing in on what was going on. And so being mindful and using these practices to be mindful was super helpful. That's my update on the challenge so far. My best update on the challenge so far is that it's helped me be more mindful, and it's helped me center myself easier and faster. And I feel like I'm a little bit more aware right now. So that's really nice. Like I said, all these practices have been very helpful in that. Journaling is the best one. I'm very glad I started with that one first. And if anyone is interested in doing this challenge, I highly recommend it. Journaling is fantastic because you wake up in the morning, especially if you have a busy day ahead of you, it can be so overwhelming to just get up and think that you have all these things to do. And an example from my life is that I sometimes have those days where I just didn't want to do something before bed, so I didn't do the task that I was supposed to do the night before. I didn't do the homework assignment or whatever. And when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I have to do all of today's things and that thing I didn't do from yesterday. And that can be really overwhelming. But to sit down and journal about my feelings, why didn't I do that thing? And what do I have to do today? And just really putting my feelings down and my tasks and making them all this cohesive thing that's on paper just makes it all less daunting, which has been really nice. So journaling has been huge for mindfulness because I don't allow myself to be oh, well, I'm really busy today, so I'm just going to fall into a cycle of doing nothing because I'm overwhelmed. It really forces me to make a plan and try and stick to it and to, calm myself out. I calm myself out a lot in my journal. I'm no, chill out, bro. You need to be better. And so journaling has been incredibly helpful in that regard. Digital minimalism has been surprisingly helpful for mindfulness, and I think that it makes total sense. Basically, digital minimalism, from what I've studied and learned about, is really, really important right now just because the world is really fast-paced. There's a lot of technology, and digital minimalism goes beyond just organizing. It's about setting boundaries with technology, not letting it consume you, because technology is something humans weren't really prepared for it. We didn't really evolve to use technology. We created technology, and now we have this overwhelming thing that we all very regularly and normally indulge in, but it is actually not the best for us. Technology can be very overwhelming. Anyways, focusing on digital minimalism, trying to back off social media use a little bit, trying to keep myself from always indulging in media and always indulging in technology has been very helpful. I find that like going outside and doing crafts and taking a bike ride or just doing very simple tasks, even reading a book, something that's not technology based, usually I end up feeling a lot calmer and more centered after a task like that than as opposed to when I pick up my phone and just scroll through some apps and then I start to feel that overwhelming sense. And so digital minimalism has been good in that regards for mindfulness. It just gets rid of distractions and makes it easier to focus the mind. Boom. No spending. Okay, this one is a mindfulness practice, but it's not quite in the same regard as the last ones. But no spending is a form of mindful practices because you have to really think about what you're going to spend money on before you do it. Is this worth it? Do I need this? What purpose will this serve in my life? And it makes you think very heavily about what you're doing. And for me, it really helped me stop myself from making some purchases I didn't need to make because I'm like, no, I don't need this. No, this isn't going to serve much purpose in my life. It's just going to take up space. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, this thing matters to me. This thing is something I want to spend money on. This thing, to me, is worth it. And so it just makes me feel better about the decisions I'm making because I'm not just impulse getting things. I'm trying to really explain to myself as to why something matters to me and why I should put it in my life. And it's just kind of nice to reflect in that way. I'm not doing it as strict. Like, I'm not trying to do, like, I'm not spending money. But I am going to continue the mindful practice of not spending unnecessary money. And that is something that has stuck through this challenge. So that's nice. And now, meditating. So excited to talk about this one because it was interesting. My first day meditating when I started this challenge, I am so out of practice. Like, I forgot that meditating is very much a skill and you can fall out of practice from meditating. And I am incredibly out of practice, like grossly out of practice. I could not get my mind to focus on my breathing or to focus on my feeling. Like my mind wanted to go everywhere. Like I was thinking about the text I was going to send in a second. I was thinking about this thing that I have to do later and this homework assignment and I could like sit in front of my computer and start working on this. Like my mind was everywhere but in the meditation. And it was terrible because I love meditating and I know it's very useful. Beginners often, like myself, beginners have this hard time getting into the meditation space. It is a skill. Being able to block out your thoughts and really just focus and be here and present, that is a skill. Mindfulness is a skill. Like, it's not inherently primal to be mindful all the time. We have instincts. We want to do things without thinking. And being mindful is something you really have to practice and build. It's something I'm trying to practice and build right now. And I think meditating is a great one for being mindful. It pulls me out of bed in the morning because the first day my lazy ass like really went on YouTube and searched up meditations to do while lying down. And because I didn't want to stand up. And so I just laid there and tried to do it. And like I said, it was not good at all. But the next day, I forced myself out of bed. I sat in my chair and I did the meditation. And yeah, I didn't go from like terrible to like meditating like maniac, can totally meditate easy. It was still a struggle, but I've slowly improved through the week. I can tell that I've gotten better at recognizing when my thoughts are trying to barge through my meditation. I've gotten better about being patient. It is a skill, like I said, and I'm trying to build this skill. What I've learned helps me is to not jump in the deep end. I could not meditate for like 20 minutes right now. Most definitely not. 10 minutes today was a little difficult. Doing a 5-minute meditation, telling myself just take 5 minutes to calm down for once and not be like hyperactive and thinking of everything you need to do. I had to try so hard not to get myself to stop many times and write something down because whenever I'd have a thought, I'm like, that I could use that later. But the problem is with me is that I do that all the time. Like I have a thought, I have an idea, I have this brilliant thing, and I like write it down because I'm like, I'm going to use this later. And now I just have like a giant archive of a bajillion projects I could start and need to start. But I never stop to reflect and look back at them, so I just keep accumulating them, which is why being mindful is important, because hopefully I can actually start to implement all those things now, because I have all the ideas, I just let myself be so 1,000 miles an hour in my brain that I never really get them done. So meditation has been really helpful in that regard. I think that I'm finally centering and getting where I need to be. And the last thing I want to talk about with meditation is meditation and stoicism. Like I said, what I did was, when I was meditating, usually was I'd go on YouTube and I would just search up meditation, find a meditation that looked interesting, I'd click on it and use it. One day, it was the day that I was having my really off day, I decided to pull up the Daily Stoic and see if they had any advice on anxiety, because I was feeling very anxious that day that I was really off. Like I couldn't stop myself from feeling really nervous, and I didn't know what to do, but I love Stoicism, so I thought I'd turn to Stoicism to see what advice they had. And so I went into the Daily Stoic, typed in like anxiety and all that, and I did find one. I found a little clip where they talked about anxiety, and it was very refreshing. I loved the advice they gave. I wrote about it. I journaled about it. Like that's how this kind of is intertwining for me. All these things are starting to get linked. I am meditating, and then the meditation makes me realize there's something I need to work on. I end up like pulling up a video or something and getting some advice from somewhere, reading, trying to understand what I'm feeling, and then I end up journaling about it. It's because of all this mindfulness stuff that it's making it easier to get through this process and to get through this stuff faster. Meditation has been going very well, and this whole thing has been really coming together and building off of each other, and I think that these habits will definitely stick, and I'm excited about that. I don't want to make this video terribly long because it feels like it's already very long, but the last one I'm going to talk about is what I'm going to do this next upcoming week, the next challenge. I've decided that given the fact that I have 2 more weeks left of college, and the fact that I really, really, really want to start doing a lot more freelancing and content work when I graduate, is I'm going to start implementing no-nonsense study hours, which is just my way of trying to initiate flow in my work by not letting myself be easily distractible. It's very easy, especially since it's summer, to convince myself that school, I shouldn't take it that seriously. I'm not in college, I'm in summer school, it's not the same, but it very much is, and I need to actually focus when I sit down to do my work, actually put my phone away, actually not pull up social media or YouTube when I get bored. If I can sit down and just do the work, I can get it done way faster, and I'll have more time to focus on the things that I want to do after I graduate. I really do want to start working on where this channel is going to go and where my podcast is going to go when I graduate, and I really, really want to start doing more freelance type work. I have a lot of ideas and stuff, so I think by implementing this no-nonsense study hours policy, I'll be able to do a lot more and get a lot more planning and get ahead. Basically what I'm going to do, what I mean by no-nonsense study hours, is put my phone away when I have to do my study sessions, set a time frame, an hour and a half, serious study, no phone, no social media, no going away from the task, just get into it and grind at it. That always works better for me anyways, because once I get into flow, I'm just zooming through it. But if I break the flow, it's really hard for me to get back into it. Like yesterday, I allowed myself to break the flow for a little bit and totally did not finish my homework like I should have. So I'm going to make myself get into a task and do it. No nonsense study hours. Let's initiate some flow. I love flow. I'll talk a lot about it in the next update. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you watch this, I hope it could be of some use, any of this information. I hope it's at least enjoyable. And if you're gonna be on this habit challenge thing with me, if you're doing it, or if you decided you want to jump in board, what are some habits you want to instill? Let me know in the comments below. And again, thank you for watching. Until next time, stay psyched.